Kindasound radio. We're tuning in for change.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. You're listening to Meditation for Misfits and your host, Chinn. And if you're listening to the show live, we've had a time change. So now we're on at 6:30 UK time every second Wednesday. So it's the first show we're doing at this new time to see if more people can listen when it's live. Meditation for Misfits is a show that I hope is full of inspiring chats and mindful superpowers, as I like to say, and sometimes the odd live meditation. The show is pre-recorded, but if you want to reach out and comment, or if you've got anything that you would like to say to myself or to the guest that I've got on today, then you can reach us on the Kindasound Instagram, which is @Kindasound. And we've also got a Telegram group, which is t.me/KS Radio. We always love to hear from you and hear what you think of the shows and how they've impacted you. Now, today, as usual, I always say, I'm really excited about today's show and the guests. We're doing a show called The Power of Words and Intention. And my guest today is someone who has also got her own show on Kindasound Radio, which is called Fine Parenting. And that's Lorraine Murray. And Lorraine's show also goes out on Wednesdays at 6:30. So 1 week it's her show and 1 week it's my show. And the thing that connects us is Connected Kids, which is a program that Lorraine has been developing, continues to develop, and has been going for 20 years. It's an international program where she teaches people to learn how to meditate with their kids. And I met Lorraine when I did this program about 7 years ago. So Lorraine has her own show, and she's also an author, obviously a meditation teacher. She's a consultant, a foster mum, and the founder of the worldwide teaching meditation program that I've mentioned already, Connected Kids. And in Lorraine's words, she says that she's really passionate about making meditation accessible to all ages and abilities. So a couple of other things that I want to say on a more personal level, that what connects Lorraine and I is also our Scottishness. And that's something that for me as someone, and I've mentioned this on the show before, who doesn't live in Scotland and hasn't lived in Scotland for 12 years, it's something that's really important to me and something that I think really embodies Connected Kids. There's a certain, for me, a Scottish kind of element that runs through it, this way that you can introduce meditation and mindfulness to people of all ages in a really pragmatic and practical way. And then there's also this touch of playfulness and magic, which, if you didn't know, the national animal of Scotland is the unicorn. And I learned this from Lorraine myself. And when I was preparing for this show this morning, in the ways that I prepare for things, I was in the swimming pool, swimming up and down, and I was just having a wee giggle to myself, thinking that when I told an ex-housemate of mine that the unicorn is the national animal of Scotland, like, she thinks it's the most amazing thing. And it's like one of her life's purposes to tell as many people as possible that a unicorn is Scotland's national animal. And I just absolutely love that. So I'm delighted to chat to Lorraine today. Lorraine is often the person doing the interviewing. So I approached her and said, I'm going to interview you today. And I just, on a personal level as well, I want to say, like, Lorraine, it's been 7 years. We've never met in person. That's going to have to happen at some point. And Lorraine continues to be such a pillar of support and inspiration in my Connected Kids journey. So not only do I use the Connected Kids methodology to work with kids and teens and their families, but I also train people in the Connected Kids program, right? So it's something that's been a huge impact, and it's an honor to have Lorraine here today and to listen to what she has to say and her wisdom. So welcome, Lorraine. And as we start all my shows, I'll invite you to take 3 breaths with me. So let's put our hands on our heart, and if you feel comfortable, you can close your eyes. And anyone listening, please do this with us. It's going to take 20 or 30 seconds. So let's just take 3 really long, nice, deep breaths, feeling that connection with our hand and our heart. Just noticing the breath going in and out. Nice and slow and deep, making these breaths conscious. Let's just do one more. And taking this moment to come out of our heads and into our bodies a little bit more. There we go. It's lovely to have you here today, Lorraine, and to be talking about the power of words and intention.
Lovely to be here, Alice. I'm hoping that if people are listening in, that we don't get too Scottish, because if we get excited and our Scottish accent gets stronger and stronger, even Django will be like, her producer will be like, what are they talking about? Might need subtitles
I know, do you know, the more
or a script.
yeah, the longer I've lived away from Scotland, the more I just love a good Scottish accent. And I obviously never used to notice it so much when I was just surrounded by it all the time. And then I'm like, oh yeah, I love how we pronounce this word and that word. Yeah, let's see how we go. I mean, we might, have to translate little words here and there, and that's okay. I love the focus of this show, and I've been ruminating on what the power of words and intention mean to me. But of course, I want to hear from you, because you're the person who came to me when I said, can I interview you? You came to me with this specific topic or focus. So why this focus? That would be the simple question.
It's quite, you've known me for 7 years, and I think I work very intuitively. So I think that when you ask me that question, I try to keep my head out of it and just come from the heart. And so from my heart, those were the words that came up. But even sitting here, it's curious to me, because my degree at university was in communication, and I was a mature student. I didn't go straight after school. So I deliberately chose a course that really represents a huge proportion of the work that I do. Because I think communication is a bridge between myself and someone else. And, it's a way to express, but it also is a way to share a part of who I am, what's in my world, what I'm feeling, what I'm thinking. And equally, if you're being taught by a meditation teacher, it's someone who's helping you build your own bridge and also helping build a bridge between you and them. It's really powerful.
It is really powerful. I didn't know that you'd studied communication. And when you're talking about communication, are you talking specifically about words, or are you also talking more generally about energy, body language? Like, could you expand on that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, my course was not about that.
No,
My course was, but saying that though, the course was it was the first of its kind to be this degree course. Others were also always concentrated on media, that kind of communication, but this one was all encompassing, to the point that it included sociology, it included linguistics, the study of language, how it developed, and so words and the energy behind that, it's really powerful. For example, I'm learning Spanish at the moment, and you obviously speak Spanish. I'm just doing it for fun. I'm not doing it for any exam or testing reason. But what's interesting to me is that the language that shapes the people, or the people that shape the language? And so the energy of that culture, the energy of the people, the energy of what they're experiencing comes through the words that they need to express it. And I always remember in linguistics, one of the things they taught us is that Eskimos, for example, people who live in that region, have maybe 20 words for snow, and we have maybe 3 or 4. And that's really down to our experience. So it's the power of words. It shapes our world. It gives meaning to our world. So communication in all its forms. And then beyond that, through my meditation practice and teaching, it's beyond the physical hearing and seeing. There is energy. There's a very powerful connection that goes on through this particular bridge building that we call communication.
Thank you for that. There's so many things that have come up for me there. Let's see if I can touch on all of them. Language. wow, like, so you know that I learn, like I speak Spanish and I also understand Catalan. And I find it fascinating that there's this essence of me in no matter what language I speak in. But sometimes I can get frustrated when I can't get my words out in Spanish, right? And I feel like I'm limited. However, I'm also an English teacher and I've been doing this for many years. And I tend to work now with mostly with women, and they've got quite a high level. And we, you know, the idea for me is I want to support them so they can speak from their heart in English, which is definitely influenced by the work I've done as a meditation teacher. To, you know, and I guide meditations at the start of each session. And when I can see them getting frustrated because they're like, I feel like I'm not me. You know, what I always say to them is, okay, so you know, usually these people come to me because we're friends or friends or friends. So they've heard me speak in Spanish and they've communicated with me in Spanish. So I always say to them, right, you've heard me speak in Spanish, you know, and now I'm speaking to you in English, which is my native language. Am I still the same person? And they're always like, oh yeah. Yeah, and it just, that thing you said about energy there, it just, I like that, this example I'm giving, because my energy and my essence is the same. Even if I can't, through the words I speak, get across what I want to say. And I try and remind myself that on the days where, even though I've been here for so long, if I can't get my words out, people are still going to understand me and connect with me. You know? And something else I mentioned to you recently, actually, with the Connected Kids Foundation course that, you know, you trained me in, and I now offered to parents and carers who want to learn how to meditate with their kids. And when I'm doing the version of the course in English, what I've started doing is playing a very short recording. It's 2.5 minutes of a boy that I worked with for 2 or 3 years. He came to group sessions and private sessions, and he was a Spanish speaker. And one day they decided they wanted to learn how to guide meditations. So he guided this beautiful little perfectly formed meditation. Everything, you know, I gave him a few pointers, like start with the breath. You know, you've heard me do this before. And he took us on this lovely journey into the forest. And he'd set an intention beforehand that the people who were listening to this were going to feel relaxed afterwards. And I play that to the English speaking people who come on the course who don't understand Spanish. And the way they receive it is really interesting, because they don't know what he's saying. But what I'm interested in is how it makes them feel. And of course, they all feel more relaxed. And of course, you know, and it's that letting go of the words thing and the intention behind it. Which takes me on to, and I've learned a lot about intention through you and through Connected Kids. I wanted to talk a little bit more about what is that to communicate intentionally, or to be intentional, right? Because I know how that is for me, but I'm curious to know how that is for you, to be intentional and to communicate intentionally.
Well, I think people maybe think that, first of all, I think people think when you're a meditation teacher and you practice meditation that you never have any shitty things happen in your life. And that's not true. Excuse the slight swear word there, but you know, I think that's not true. I think that meditation has helped me navigate and continues to help me navigate those experiences that can be very challenging sometimes. But I think that the intention isn't this kind of always peace for the world and peace and, you know, love. And sometimes the intention is resilience, or it's honesty, or it's, you know, as a foster mum, what I've noticed is that if I come from a place from my heart, it doesn't necessarily mean it's fluffy, or that it's, you know, soft and, you know, meditation like. Sometimes it's just a very honest, truthful, heartfelt expression of energy that is not it's not held up by the brain or the head. It comes from a deep place, and it has no expectations of the recipient, the listener, doing anything with it. It's more about the person who needs to let it flow through them, if that makes sense. You know, it's a very powerful act. And sometimes when I'm teaching beginners meditation or how to teach it, and we say attention, and there's a slight glibness or flippancy, I think, about, oh yeah, set intention, it's like a goal. And it's like, it's nothing like a goal. You know, it's
Could you
much
explain the
more.
difference?
Yeah,
Like
it's like the image I'm getting in my head, it's like it's like we've got this imaginary bag of golden arrows on our back. And when we set an intention, we're taking it and we are connecting into it with all the senses and the energy of it and the goldness of it, and then pulling it back and then releasing it into the universe. But aware of not in a kind of loose way, but there is a word on the whatever the word needs to be on that golden arrow. There's a word on the golden arrow that represents the energy of it, and I'm firing it into the universe. But now I've let it go. I'm not planning on how it should manifest. It's done, and so it is. You know, and that's the power of intention for me. That's the imagery that comes up when I think about it.
I love that. I can see it so clearly. And it's like once you've let the arrow go, you can't control if a bit of wind comes along and it takes the arrow away. Like you can't control nor the flight, nor where it lands, nor how it lands. Yeah.
And I think that's why when I listen to music now and when I read certain books, the energy, the intention, whether that, I'm not always saying that people are fully conscious and aware and present with that intention, but there's a heart-centered intention that connected into what they created. They went with the flow of it when it came through. And even if you're not that in tune with energy or you don't really know what that means, you can still feel it. So you still connect to it in a way that takes your breath away or makes you go, oh my goodness, I have to share this with the world. This is the best piece of music I've ever listened to. And then sometimes you do that and other people don't necessarily feel it to the same degree, but it still has this powerful impact, And I think about successful songs or successful books. I think about that, think there's a power and an energy behind that that's quite extraordinary.
You do say that actually, and I think so. We're going to go into your first song, your first Desert Island disc, as I like to call it. And I think we should put it on and then you explain after why you've picked this song. Because I think you've said before this artist, and I don't know how to pronounce her name properly. Is it
Snatum Kaur, I think it is.
Snatum Kaur, that she's very heart-centered, or what, how you experience is the way she communicates through singing and through music is very heart-centered. No, I think you said that recently to me. So let's put on the first song. So Rama Dasa by Snatum Kaur. How do I say it?
Snatum Kaur.
Thank you very much. So if you're listening to the live show, sit back and use this song as a little meditation, and we'll be on here afterwards to continue our chat.
Kindasound Radio, the station for a global community.
Welcome back to Meditation for Misfits with Chinn. This is part 2 of my show, my interview with Lorraine Murray. And we're having a lovely chat about the power of words and intention. And we just had Lorraine's first song, which is so beautiful. We've had to cut it short because we realised once we started playing that it was 12 minutes long. So we've cut it at 3 or 4 minutes, but please go and find the song Rama Dasa by Snatum Kaur, and just, you could use it as a meditation. I sat back for a moment with my eyes closed there and just let it wash over me. So I'm fascinated to know, Lorraine, you've mentioned to me that this song affected you in your 40s, I know nothing else. So please tell us and the listeners a bit more about the context of this story and what it means to you and this song.
So your show is called Meditation for Misfits. And I love that title, actually. And I was thinking about how I have always felt like a misfit, and how that this particular song represents a stage of my life when I felt like a misfit. And it connects into when my husband and I were trying to have children. We were going through fertility. And if anyone's listening, I hope you're okay and I wish you the best of luck. But I know how emotionally like a roller coaster that experience is. It is actually beyond words. So we had tried, and the reason I'm mentioning this is because I suppose there was a part of me that felt like a misfit because I wasn't sure I wanted to have children. That made me feel like a misfit because as a female, you're supposed to have children. And I also, as we went through it, and in my later years, was the term that they use for an older mother if it had been successful is geriatric mother. So there's
Which
that's
is well harsh. Is that
a
not
medical term that's
from
used for
40? 39? Yeah.
well anything from 35 onwards, to be honest. So it was kind of like, oh my goodness, this is like. Anyway, so we went through it for a year and we were unsuccessful. And it was, so there was kind of relief and deep, deep sadness. There was a whole mixture of emotions going on. But my friend, who could see how I was struggling, a meditation friend, sent me the music from this artist, this album. And I started to listen to it and I couldn't bring myself to listen to it because it was so powerful. And I just thought, I can't. Yeah. And I went to give it back to her and she went, no, it's a gift. And I went, oh, right. So I think in my head, I have to keep it. Oh, God. Yeah, I have to keep it now. And she said, I just made me think of you. And I just really felt, So, and because this is a really intuitive friend, she's one of these, like, she's like human sunshine, she really is. She just is incredible. So with respect to her, I did sit down and listen to it and it healed my heart. That's the only way I can explain it. It healed my heart. It didn't mean it was easy. It brought up grief, it brought up things, but it definitely helped me stay open to the world through my heart, which when you've been through an experience like infertility and treatments, it's very easy to shut down and go, I don't want to feel anything anymore. This is too hard. So I chose that piece of music because it's like, if a song can do that, if the words, I know it's a chant, so therefore there is a sacredness to those words. They've been chanted by millions of people throughout time. So there is a pool of energetic healing water, if you want to call it that we sip from when we listen to a tune like that. And so I felt it was really appropriate for the whole sense of communication, intention, heart, and showing how something like that had helped me through a healing stage of my life that was really quite difficult and traumatic, actually.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that. And thank you for sharing, so vulnerably as well. The healing power of music. The healing power of music. And I also want to say thank you. Everyone's experience of being a misfit is different. And actually, the reason that my business and part of what I do in the world, Meditation for Misfits, the reason it has that name is because of an interaction I had with you. I don't know if you remember, but about 18 months ago, I went live on Facebook or something, and I talked for the first time about being a misfit or something. I didn't even use the phrase meditation for misfits, but I remember shitting it beforehand, being nervous, and I think you've just got to do this, And I don't know, I can't remember the origins of misfit, but and using it for a business sense. But then I did that. you watched it and you sent me a private message on whatever it was, Facebook or Instagram, and you said, oh, meditation for misfits. And I said, well, what does that mean? My logical, rational brain was like, I need to understand what this is. I need more guidance. I can't possibly, and you said, I don't know, meditate on it. And I did. And it took me a while maybe it was even more than a year and a half ago. And it took me a while to get the courage up to go, right, I'm going to make this a thing. So I thank you for being a misfit and being in my life, and for having these conversations that are important to start with, but also for giving me that spiritual kick up the bum, or whatever you want to. I think that's an expression I get from you as well. To that kind of planting a seed, but of course the rest of it had to come from me, and there was the invitation there to meditate on it and to empower myself to go, we need to have these conversations. And look at us now on a radio show called Meditation for Misfits, talking about music that connects to how we feel as misfits, that what's our place, I don't fit in, and I hope that the listeners out there, however you struggle with being a misfit, because it's a wonderful thing to be our truest versions, and also it can be a little bit difficult and we can feel lonely. I hope this conversation is resonating for you. And one more thing I wanted to touch on was that thing that you said about being a female, and you weren't sure if you wanted to be a mum or not. And I've had my experience is different. I'm 40. I've chosen to be child-free by choice, as they say. And my experience of not having kids of my own, not having kids, has affected me in a professional sense, actually, in thinking, I work with so many parents. Am I qualified to do this? And the answer is yes, because I was a kid, because I'm surrounded by kids, and because I know how to connect with them. And I think it gives me more objectivity. But I've had my moments as well of feeling a misfit in this world full of people who are parents, and even the educators I work with are often parents too, so that's kind of my perspective and my experience as well, that it's I don't know, limiting thoughts that we can have, right? So thank you so much for sharing that. Thank you for bringing this song. And those who are listening, get it on your playlist. You can use it. I love to use kind of chants and mantras as a way to meditate, actually. Like, why not meditate to music?
You don't even need to be meditating. You can just play it in the background, and it will be soothing your soul as you are going about your day. It doesn't require, there's certain practices, I think, in meditation that obviously we have reverence for them. They're special, but equally, as long as we appreciate that, we can still participate in it without having to stop everything. It will still have that soothing effect on our energy, like holding a crystal, it's having it in your bra, your pocket. Yeah. You can sit and meditate with crystals, but equally, you just have them on your person, under your pillow, and they will have a soothing effect on you. A little piece of the earth's energy connecting to you to ground you and help you.
I've got a crystal in my bra.
I've got two in my hand.
I've got tiger's eye.
Oh, lovely. Yeah.
I have to do a show on crystals at some point.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
And actually, thanks to Lorraine's suggestion a couple of months ago, I've been sleeping with soda light crystal under my pillow.
Oh, good. Yeah.
Ages, which it's
good for misfits.
Yeah. Say again.
It's good for misfits because it opens your throat and helps you express who you are. And misfits can often feel accentuated in their misfitedness because they can't. It's like they don't give themselves permission to be true in who they are.
Sure, absolutely, and that resonates so much, and especially in the context if you're listening to these shows in order. Like I did a big old show last week, which was live, and I was talking about growing up under Section 28, which was this homophobic law that was prohibiting conversations about homosexuality in local authorities and mostly in schools, right? And that felt like such a such a big deal. And I definitely know that that's soda like crystal, you know, and intentionally, back to that word intentionally allowing my voice to come through, which it was already, but it was like a big old inner shift for that misfit part of me, thinking I'm going to pigeonhole myself or put people off if I talk too much about this, you know? And it's like, yeah, fascinating, absolutely fascinating. So let's see how we're doing for time. My next question was, what's your relationship with being a misfit? So we've covered that. I would really love to know what's in your mindful toolkit, Lorraine. And I'm not sure, do we want to talk about this now or should we put the song on first? I think it depends on why you've chosen this next song. So the next song we've got is Prince and the Revolution, When Doves Cry. Should we put that on now? Or
yes, I think so. I think play the music first and then.
Perfect. So we're going to put on Lorraine's second Desert Island Discs, Prince and the Revolution, When Doves Cry. And I know this is related to something to do with her teen self. So I'm going to leave that there tantalizingly, and we'll put the song on. And then afterwards, we're going to talk a little bit more about what's in Lorraine's mindful toolkit and about why this song is significant to her. So if you want to pop that on, Django, we've got Prince and the Revolution, When Doves Cry.
Kindasound, tuning in for change.
Well, welcome back to Meditation for Misfits with your host, Alice Chinn. And we are into part 3 of the show already, can't believe it. And I have got Lorraine Murray here, who's the founder of Connected Kids. I trained with Connected Kids starting 7 years ago, and I've done several courses, and we're having a really interesting chat today about the power of words and intention. And we were just getting into talking about what's in Lorraine's mindful toolkit, and also we've just been listening to the wonderful Prince and the Revolution, When Doves Cry. And Lorraine was mentioning off air what a big Prince fan she was, how she's seen him live, how she can sing so many words from so many songs. So I'm really fascinated to know how this song influenced you or influences you, and how it relates to your teen self, as you mentioned to me.
Well, so you asked me to choose 3 songs, and because, again, the name of the show, I chose him because this was the first record I ever bought, but I realised that he was a complete misfit in the music industry, loud and proud. And not that I necessarily appreciated that when I listened to him as a teen, but he was so true, you know, to his music, to himself. And I think that's what spoke to me when I was a teen. And I think that, so for me, before I was introduced to meditation, I would say that music was probably in my toolkit of survival. I think, and I still see that in young people. I see it in my foster son, actually, how music is it's not just part of your identity. It puts into words the words that you are feeling and experiencing, but you haven't been able to articulate yet. And whether that's angry words, whether that's soothing words, whether that's dancey words, you know, whatever it is. So along with the frequency of the music itself and that whole level of healing that comes in. So I think that my teen self used music a lot to survive what I now look back on as quite a lot of trauma from childhood. And then I stepped into not knowing what to do with what I was experiencing and started to self-harm with alcohol. And so it wasn't until I was introduced to meditation by my mum, who witnessed all of this and who planted a seed with me, that I would say that was my saving grace. That was my survival. I didn't open my arms and go, yeah, fantastic. Yeah, teach me meditation. I was very much the typical resistant maverick, teenager. You can't tell me anything. I know it all. But nevertheless, she persisted and it planted a seed. And look at where I am now and look at what I do and teaching you and the number of young people we've connected with through all of this. So in my toolkit, I think I have obviously I have what people might regard as a typical meditation toolkit, like the first song we played, mantras, sitting, silence, guided meditations. But sometimes in my meditation toolkit is a song that soothes my teenage self, the one that says, this is what I need to listen to. And so when I'm talking about meditation and trying to introduce it to young people, I don't necessarily mean play the music you like, play the music they like and get them to be mindful with it. And if my mum had had the skills or maybe even the courage to do that with me, I think that would have been so powerful for me listening to Prince's music and being able to not just listen to it, but to really, really listen to it and feel it penetrate through all my energy of worry and fear and, everything that was going on at the time, to the point that maybe I wouldn't have turned to such self-harming behaviors for a while.
Mm-hmm. How does it make you feel to listen to this song now?
It's really funny. I listen to it and I think, oh my goodness, it's quite sexual. Oh my goodness, this is quite raunchy, and it amuses me because obviously when I listened to it, I didn't have that sexual experience. I wasn't sexually active at that time. So I was just naive in a sense. I loved the music. I loved the beat. I loved just everything about it, the way it being crafted, it was just perfect for me. It wasn't about the imagery that went with it or anything. It was just the music itself. But yeah, when I listen back to it now, I'm like, there's another aspect. It was teaching me about sexuality and being aware of that coming through. And that's a really difficult road to navigate as a young person. You have, especially in Scotland, oh my goodness, you talked about Section 28. I would say as a heterosexual person, it was equally, because of our Protestant background and upbringing, it was equally challenging. We were shamed to, over anything that was about enjoying or embracing sex. Oh my, especially as a female, and I think that song just helped me connect into a part of myself that was struggling actually with that.
It's really interesting what you say, and fascinating it's the same song, right? But how we can receive songs differently, so even though when you were younger it had, it's got these sexual connotations, but perhaps what you connected to was the playfulness, the beat, the energy, and then later on you can notice the words and it has a different meaning. And listening to you talk reminds me of the second interview I did on the show with May, the teenager who's 14, and I loved her song choices as well, and the way she, it really resonated when you're talking about your foster son as well, and what music means to him, and also what music meant to you when you were a teen. She'd chosen her songs so intentionally, and I could see how much they meant to her and how music can just help her process. And I think because she's autistic as well, sometimes, and she says it herself, finds it hard to talk about how she's feeling. And I can really see how music for young people who are trying to work out who they are, and they're trying to work out how to put words to what they're feeling in their body, and how music can really transport them. And I would hope that music these days for young people is, the messages are a bit more open and a bit more inclusive than they were when we were younger. Not all, there's still work to do there, but I definitely think that, I would hope that the music and words and everything are definitely more inclusive and more inspiring and giving young people hope as well, for sure. Giving young people hope completely. So you've told us a little bit about what's in your mindful toolkit. Is there anything else that, because obviously in the work that you do, you're holding space for people a lot. So that's both listening, both energetically. Like, is there anything else that's in your mindful toolkit that you haven't mentioned yet that you think you'd like to on this show?
I would, well, as a foster mum of a teenager, which presents its challenges, I think it can be really tricky sometimes for us as the parents to even turn around and look in the mirror, because we don't really want to acknowledge our own failings. Are they feelings? They're just experiences. We're all doing the best that we can, to be honest. But one of the things I've practiced a lot, and because of my age as well, being menopausal, that doesn't help. But, I find that my head can, even with all my meditation experience, my head can really start to dramatize and create life stories about incidents that then it becomes a snowball effect. And I want to, offer to anyone who's listening to this, who struggles, who feels that their head is just so full of junk, or the record is on playing over and over and over again, they don't know how to stop it, is to maybe just, start a dialogue with yourself which says, I'm standing or I'm seated, my feet are here, my arms are here, I'm doing this, just as if you were narrating to someone what you're actually doing in the moment that you're doing it, where your body is, if you're breathing or not, And I found that when I start to narrate to myself inwardly, it just takes my head away from the drama that's trying to be created in my head. It just calms everything down. And if that gives my head 30 seconds of respite, then that's great, because sometimes you feel like you're on a hamster wheel and it's difficult to get off. And so if you start to self-narrate, that it brings mindful presence to your moment in a way that's accessible, I think, for people. And when you start to do that, it helps. The hamster wheel just stops.
Yeah, there's that practical, pragmatic part of you that I do appreciate so much, because I have a tendency to overcomplicate so many things, and it starts here, right? And it's just like, yeah, there's a simple tool. Simple is powerful, no? So thank you for sharing that, and I hope the listeners find that useful as well. I certainly do. Okay, what we're going to do now is we're going to go into our third song, and this is Amazing Grace by Scots Dragoon Guards. So this has definitely got a Scottish focus, obviously. Do you want to tell us first, actually, in a couple of phrases, why this song? And I want to say thank you as well for choosing your song so intentionally, very fitting with today, not just thinking about yourself, but also thinking about the context of the show. I really appreciate that as well. So why this one, Lorraine?
So this song, this is going to sound very woo-woo now. This song came to me in a dream. Cool. And in this particular dream, I was being asked to stand up and sing Amazing Grace. And I only knew the first verse, and I was feeling really overwhelmed in my dream, having to stand and sing this song. And what was clear to me in the dream is that just sing the first verse, even if you don't know the rest. And this was at a time when no one was teaching children meditation. No one was, there were no books on teaching meditation to kids. It was all just about adults. And it was the seed and the start of me writing my first book, Calm Kids. And the reason I chose this song is because I felt like a complete misfit. I didn't have kids. I didn't feel like I should be teaching children meditation. Someone else should do it. I felt totally out of my depth. But because when I had that dream, I was just like, I just need to stand up and sing this song. This is all I know, so I'll do it. And I wrote the first book, Calm Kids, because it was just all I knew. And I knew it was what had to be expressed. And this is, and the fact it's bagpipes. I mean, my goodness, who doesn't like, well, you might not like bagpipes, but it'll move through you, whether you like it or not.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, I'm going to take this moment to plug Lorraine's books. She's written 3 and they're all wonderful, and please check them out. Let's listen to Royal Scots Dragoon Guards' Amazing Grace. And if you think you don't like bagpipes, I challenge you to sit back and perhaps be open to enjoying them.
Kindasound radio. We're tuning in for change.
Welcome back to the last little part of this wonderful, lovely, inspiring chat that I'm having with Lorraine Murray, the founder of Connected Kids. And we were both very much enjoying the bagpipes there. And Lorraine was telling me a bit more about the dream she had singing Amazing Grace. And I hope I can say this, that in the dream you were wearing a mini kilt, and we were just talking about how wonderful. I was about to launch into an anecdote about a mini kilt, and we realized we had to come back on air. Of course, you know, I'm going to say I love bagpipes and I love kilts, and I love this story, and actually what you've been saying a little bit more off air about it, and how this song was like a catalyst, right?
Yeah.
For
I think
following
for
20 years, you know?
it was, and I think another reason for choosing it is that, you know, it was a universal breadcrumb to me. I didn't know what they were at the time, but it was certainly saying to me, you can do this, Lorraine. You're meant to do this. And I felt like a misfit doing this. And yet I knew I had to do it. And I look back on that now and think, this is what I'm trying to do as well. I don't call it misfits, but I definitely want people to find a way to connect to whatever they call meditation or mindfulness that works for them, that just brings a bit of inner self-soothing and peace and joy, whatever they need.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing that. And thank you for inspiring me, and I hope inspiring the listeners as well, to embrace and to celebrate who we are. I use the word misfit, and I'm aware that that's not the right word for everyone, but like, just, you know, embracing who you are and learning to be okay with that. And for me, it's using meditation and mindfulness to have those tools, right? One little thing that I want to share before we close the show is that, I don't know if you remember this, Lorraine, but talking about, you know, doing the thing and stepping out, and, you know, you writing this book, even though your rational brain was like, ugh, you know, and you did it. It's like years ago, you said to me, speak your truth, it will set you free. And again, I was like, what does that mean? and then I got pissed off that I tried speaking my truth and it wasn't working, you know, and you were like, you know, you've been doing it for 5 minutes, you know, like be a bit more patient. And it's this journey with Connected Kids is I'm speaking my truth more and more, and that feels more and more aligned. So I thank you for that influence, and for inspiring me to continue to speak my truth as you speak yours. We're coming to the very end of the show, and I like to do, it's going to be a very quick gratitude practice because we are running out of time. So if you're listening as well, let's put our hands on our hearts. And Lorraine, I would love to know a couple of things that you're grateful for right now.
Being alive, getting to connect to you and Django, our producer, and just for anyone who listens to this, I'm grateful to them.
Thank you, Lorraine. I'm grateful for connection. And if you want to know more about Lorraine and Connected Kids, then please check out her website and her books. I can highly recommend them. Thank you so much for listening, and thank you so much for your time, Lorraine, and for the wonderful music.
Thank you.